Hello. Without mentioning any names of any social media sites, the way it is now, there's so few that when you speak about social media, people know exactly who you're talking about without even mentioning the name. There's been a lot of news lately about a company that figured out how to circumvent the information on users. I can remember one day I was on one of the social media sites, and there was a pop-up came on and said, would you like to participate in this or that, whatever it was. And I started to click on it. In fact, I think I did click on it. And it gave me a message and said, would you share your friends list? And when I saw that, I thought, well, there's no way I'm going to do that. So I didn't. Most of the talk has been about those companies. And I'm a believer that in the electronic age, in the digital age, there is nothing totally secure. There are some geniuses out there that stay awake trying to figure out how to circumvent anything and everything. And more than likely, eventually they'll figure out how to do anything. But you've got to determine whether your information is that valuable to anyone. I tell you what I think. I think the biggest nuisance of people gathering data from you, now I'm talking about social sites, of course, other where you do commerce and things like that, they have their own way of keeping it secure. So what I'm talking about is strictly social sites. What do you have that you want to keep secure? Do I care if some research company wants to group me in, say, with a group of people from my zip code, which they can do, and say, well, people that live in that area are more likely to purchase donuts than they are cheesecake or whatever. Do you really care if anyone knows that? But I think talking about outside companies gaining access to the social media sites is a deflection. Because you look at it like this. The person that's providing you with a free service, they have access to everything. Their inner workings of their organization, and you can understand why they would do that, because it would be so enticing. An example would be, say, the community that you live in. If overnight someone came to you and said, this person from Mars just landed, or maybe he was from Jupiter, and he has the ability to just touch you on the forehead, and you can know basically what everybody in your neighborhood is thinking. Now, do you really want to be able to do that or not? How many could refuse? Very few. And I think the social media sites have gathered so much data that it's so enticing for them to to go into their servers and say, for instance, they wanted to know, well, how many people did a text or submitted a post or whatever where they talked about angels or any other religious word. Well, they could write their algorithms to where they would know, they would say, well, 30% of the people that live in that area have mentioned angels, but no, a couple hundred miles away, if there were 20% of the people in your area who had, let's use another word, talked about football, they could say 20% of those people that live in this area are really wigged out over football and this team. And then you go 100 miles away from that area, and half of the people there compared to the other place are thinking about football. So there's no limit. The amount of information that they have when you sign up, and of course, you can't get the services unless you accept their terms of agreement. And when you accept that, it's just a mishmash of legalese. And I have never read one of those. You may have read it, but most people don't read it because they want the service, and the only way you can get it is just to say, yes, I agree. So what I'm trying to say is, what do you have or what do you know that is so valuable that someone else would want to know about it? I don't think that a social media site is looking at me as an individual wanting to know what websites I visit. Now, all of that changes if you are drilled down to an individual where it counts because of whatever you're doing. But I'm talking about generalities. They're never going to, unless I'm under investigation or something, why do they want to know where I go on the internet? As long as I'm dealing in legal things, they could care less. But now they would want to know where, say, 300 people of my general description, age and locality and time on the internet. Now they would want to know, do those people watch more dog videos than cat videos? Well, they know. And then what they do is, it's such a lucrative thing that information is money, especially if you're trying to sell a product. And everybody listening to this video, and I know my wife, she mentions it all the time, she will search for, she likes to sew and quilt. So she's always searching on her laptop. She's got a laptop which is running an Android. It's a Chromebook. And she'll look for different patterns. And then she'll look at me and she'll say, well, I'm going to edit that word out because I don't want to mention any specific social media. So that's why I edited. But anyway, she'll say, I was looking for colored thread, pink thread, and all of a sudden when I went on my social site, an ad for pink thread came up. Well, what they're doing is they're farming your likes and your dislikes. At one time, pop-ups were a big thing, and they figured how to deselect the pop-ups, but that means absolutely nothing anymore. The algorithms are tracking you, and that's why if you look for a specific model of automobile, you're going to start getting all these ads. But it all boils down to you're getting it free. That's why they never did charge for this. If they'd have started out charging a fee, people would have had the social media companies in dire straits. But by them giving it free, who's in control? They are. And you become addicted to these social media sites, and you keep, regardless of what you know, I mean, when you go on these social sites, you know someone's tracking you. And yet we give a lot of personal information. I know I do. I have friends who would never give as much information as I give on a social media site. But getting back to the point, they're not interested in me as an individual. So it's a trade-off. What do you have that you don't want anybody to know about? Well, if there's something you don't want anybody to know about, let's say, for instance, that you love to cut grass. Well, if you never mention grass or cutting grass or anything like that, they will never know that you're one of the percentage of people who love to mow grass. And there's people that love to mow grass. And I'm sure they get pop-ups of lawnmowers and things like that because they're searching for those kind of things. So I guess the crux of this video is you can't be paranoid. If you're paranoid, you need to get off of the internet. And on one of my social sites that I really love, as a protest, I've been off of it about a week, and I keep telling everybody that I'll be over it in a week or 10 days. That's what the doctor tells you, like, well, you got a bad cold, but you'll be over it in a week or 10 days. So that's more or less what I've said on my social media site. And I guess after a week or 10 days, I'll be jabbering again. And like I mentioned a while back, I'm going to only edit this video. I'm going to edit out where I mention the name of one of the social sites. And there are so few sites that you cannot mention the name and everybody knows who you're talking about. And there's one other thing. I tell you what, I'm going to do another video about that. So I'm going to end this video, and I'm going to do another one and see if I get some feedback on that. Well, thank you for listening. We'll see you. Bye-bye.